I worked for an office that had it dialed in, and my parents had it dialed in. So it felt very familiar. With that, years later, my goal when I go in and I train in office is to help them understand, especially the people at the front, I'm you. Yes, I went through something, but I'm not just trying to be the hero of my own story. I am you. I was at a point, a lot of times when you go into a dental office, it's all about the doctor, not the team, and that needs to change.
We love the San Gabriel Valley. There are some amazing people and businesses here, and we think they deserve the spotlight. Welcome to the SGV Master Key Podcast. We'll have on the people that make the SGV great. We'll find out what makes them tick, their ups and downs, their history, and we're going to have fun doing it. This is the SGV Master Key Podcast. And now your hosts, Scott Warmoth and Russell Mano.
All right, SGVers, welcome back to another episode of the SGV Master Key Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you're a regular here, we appreciate you spending this time with us. If you're new to this show, we capture and share the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley. And we're excited to bring you another guest from right here in the SGV. But before then, we always have a little dialogue here first, Scott. And, I don't know how many times you've said that you needed to go to the dentist. I mean, it's not quite often. You don't really have issues with your teeth.
Well,
right?
Actually, I do. I go at least every 3 months. I go to
for just the
teeth
cleaning. Oh, but that's not a issue, though.
Oh, an issue. Well, yeah, I go. I suppose it's been a year or two since I've had a lot. I've had so much work done. I don't even know how many real teeth I have. It's like I've got crowns, and I don't even know what it. I don't even keep track anymore. Yeah.
Well, I think I shared with you, the stress of my childhood because I was a bruxer at a very young age.
Yeah.
And so I ground my teeth like down to half.
Oh, wow.
And, that affects like my jaw, it affects my bite, it affects a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I think they call them appliances, but I have like 15.
Right now?
Right now. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And, when I was in the Army, the dental work is, enough to get you out on the battlefield. Really, like that's like you just have to be battlefield ready. So you can't have any, infection or pain. But that's like really what they do, right? And so like I came out of the Army with a lot of work, but it was aesthetically not like I was like I didn't want to smile.
Oh,
and
really?
Yeah. And so at 21, Dr. Collis offered to do all this work for me with zero interest, and just he would carry the loan himself. And so I was like, wow, like how else am I going to do that, right? But I didn't know the cost later on. Like then, okay, so 15 years, and then all these things are going to need to be replaced, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I've been dealing with that over the last, I don't know, decade or so. But yeah.
Yeah, well, I've found that the dental office has become a lot more sort of friendly. When you're a kid, you just hate to go to the dentist. And I find now, it's just so advanced technology and methods of treatment that I don't really fear going to the dentist anymore. In fact, when I get my teeth cleaned every 3 months by Louis over at Dr. Fuentes' office in Arcadia, I always fall asleep while he's cleaning my teeth. And he told me that many of his patients do.
Wow.
They sleep through it, but I do too.
Well, I'm not afraid of the dentist. I'm afraid of the pain. And for some reason, I need like an extraordinary amount of Novocaine or the injection.
Oh, is that right?
And even though I tell them that, like sometimes they don't believe me, or like they'll put more. And then on some occasions, they would get frustrated with me.
Oh, really?
Thinking that I'm just like really sensitive to pain.
Oh.
Yeah.
I went the other approach. When I was about 19, I needed a cavity, and I said, I don't want any Novocaine. And the dentist...
What?
Yeah, and I refused to take it.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't take it.
Because you just wanted to see what it was like, or you didn't want the shot?
I didn't want the shot. I didn't like the after effects.
Oh.
And I just figured I'll just take it.
Oh, no, I can't. I can't. Well...
Well, I've never done it since, but when you're 18.
Well, he allowed you to do it?
Well, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty hardcore, Scott.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of dentists, in the San Gabriel Valley, and if you're looking for one or looking for other stuff, don't forget, check out San Gabriel Valley Now, your source for city news, announcements, events, special savings, and everything SGV. Check them out on Instagram, sgv.now, and read their SGV Now magazine on their website, sgvnow.com. Oh, the pain. I'm such an empath that I can just imagine and feel all that pain that you're describing. But anyway, I don't think dentistry is like that for the most part. I think, it really has
It's
excelled, advanced. Yeah. And
really,
people are probably wondering now, like, what? Okay. I always wonder if people are guessing what the guest, is based on our conversation. So probably they already see the title though when it comes in. So let's introduce our guest. Her name is Denise Williams-Jones. She's the founder, she's a speaker, and she's the owner of Next Level Success. Denise, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So what is Next Level Success, and why are we talking about all this dentist stuff?
As you were talking, and first let me say, I know Louis, and he's very gentle. I worked with Louis for about 4 years.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I
Yeah.
know that you're telling the truth when you say you fall asleep.
Yeah, right.
There
Yeah,
were
Louis
so
is-
many patients that loved Louis and wanted Louis only. And
Oh,
Dr.
is that
Fuentes.
right? Yeah,
Yes.
and Dr. Fuentes. Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, it's a periodontal office in Arcadia, and I would highly recommend them because I've just had very good
They're awesome.
experiences there.
They're
Yes.
awesome. So let me tell you all what Next Level to Success is. I'm a consultant, coach, and speaker. And Next Level to Success is really about helping the dental community, dental offices reach their potential, go to that next level of success. As you all were talking about dentistry's kind of gotten a bad rap. And so my goal with Next Level to Success is to help foster relationships, create the right culture, and make the dental community, empower the dental community so that they can see the importance of connecting with patients and providing that next level to success. So I primarily work with front office. I've been in the dental community since 1995. I worked in the first office almost 17 years, and the second office about almost 12 years. And somewhere along the way, I decided that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. I was supposed to be helping other offices. The first office I worked in was in Arcadia Pediatric Dental Office, Dr. Kevin Snare's office on Huntington Drive. And the second one was Temple City, Dr. Jack Von Bulow, right here on Las Tunas. So I decided there was more. There was a bit of a more of a calling. My passion is customer service. So I thought, why don't I go out there? I was fortunate enough to work with two offices that really had it dialed in. They had it dialed in. And they provided training. So we had it dialed in as team members. But how many other offices are not training their team? They're not training their team, so their team's not providing this excellent customer service. So I felt that there was a need and a calling for me to take my passion and say, let me go out there and talk to other offices and talk to the community about dialing it in so we can kind of get rid of that bad rap of, I'm afraid to go to the dentist, or it's just all clinical. So that's how Next Level to Success came about. And that's what I am doing now. I'm doing that full time, consulting, speaking, helping offices reach that next level to success.
Oh. Yeah, I can definitely see in your personality that customer service would come naturally to you. Denise, this show is called the SGV Master Key Podcast. So we learned now that you've worked in the San Gabriel Valley, but can you take us back? Did you always live in the San Gabriel Valley?
Yes. Yes. I lived in Duarte, California, was raised in Duarte. I come from a family of 12. We lived...
Of 12?
12. I'm one of 12. One of 12. I'm number 9.
Number 9.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm a born and raised San Gabriel Valley girl.
Oh.
Still live in San Gabriel Valley. I live in Alhambra.
And how about your siblings? Are they still here?
I would say about 8
Half
of
a
them.
dozen or
8.
so.
Yeah, 8 still live in the San
8
Gabriel
do.
Valley.
Okay.
Yes. So raised in Duarte, California, and big family, great childhood with my parents really raised us with culture. And I think that's where it started. I was raised a Jehovah's Witness, so they were very strict. Years later, I left the organization, and that was quite traumatic for me. And it kind of set the stage and the foundation for what I'm doing now, because I was a totally different person. When I left, like I said, it was a traumatic experience. I was about 26 years old. And at first, I couldn't see the good. Because when you leave that organization, they don't talk to you. So I would say that I only see about half of my family. Half are very involved. There were many years where it was tough, but then later I started to really focus on the good that I got from it, the training that I got from it, the structure, the foundation that my parents laid for that. One of the things that people associate Jehovah's Witnesses with is they go door to door. They knock on the door. So when I was involved in the religion at a very young age, I was what's called a pioneer. So I would go to door, 90 hours a month. And I would spread the word and talk to different people and study with them. Well, one thing I realized later in life is that really set the stage for me to be adaptable. You never knew who was on the other side of the door. You never knew if it was going to be what gender. You never knew what religion, what age, if they were atheists, if they were religious. You didn't know, male, female, rich, poor. So taking that into next level to success, I really have found that I've been able to be effective with my clients because you have to be adaptable. It doesn't matter what gender they are. It doesn't matter what religion they are. It doesn't matter their class. People are people. And so learning that from a childhood and looking back, learning that from the religion and learning those qualities have really helped me to help my clients and next level to success.
Wow. I think you're I've never met somebody I've heard of families of 12, but I've never met somebody in person. So, wow. That's a really positive spin you've put on that.
Yeah, and I'm interested in the Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know how much you want to talk about it.
Tap into it.
Yeah.
This is the first time I'm tapping into it.
Oh, really?
On air.
And so, yeah, you don't have to talk any more than you want to.
No.
But
I'm ready to kind of tap into it.
A little bit. Okay.
So I'm interested in the life as, growing up in a family of 12. I've never met anybody with such a large family. And is it true that you wouldn't have any birthday parties, right? No celebrations of birthday parties because of Jehovah's Witness? Correct.
It's one of those things I like to say, you don't miss what you don't know. So my father was just absolutely an example. He's my example and many in the community. My dad passed away years ago, but when he was alive, even though he had 12 kids, there were many people in the organization, the hall, we call it the hall, it's not church, that they were always at our house. We had a big yard. My dad was from the country, so we had pigs, we had chickens, we had fruit trees, we had all these things. With the price of eggs, we would have scored. We just went out and got eggs outside. And so my parents set such a structure for us and others, the other kids in the area and in the street. And many people looked at my parents as their parents. Many people called my mom and dad. It was quite often that people needed something, even with my parents having 12 kids. And they didn't have a lot of money, but there would be people that they would feed. Do you need something? What do you need? Come over. People would spend the night at our house. Are
these people from the Jehovah's Witness community?
Both.
And I believe you refer to it as not Jehovah. What is another name, or how do you easily refer to like the people you don't call it the church?
No, it's called the Kingdom Hall.
The Kingdom Hall.
Right. So families within the Jehovah's Witness organization from our congregation, as well as people in our community. If they needed help, my parents were the ones. My dad was the one. With that being said, my parents really made sure that because we didn't celebrate holidays, we didn't do those things, they did something for us always. There was always something. My parents created something called Happy Day. And I love this because this was something that they did. And my family that's still in does it. And it was a few times a year, and it would rotate. And so we would all give each other gifts. And one time it would be someone's big time to get a gift. It was probably a way to supplement something that we didn't even realize that we were missing, but we knew that we had that 3 or 4 times a year, a happy day, and we cooked and we had cake, and it was never around a holiday time. It was something that our family did. I cherish those moments. I look at that and I think, wow, they really put some thought into knowing that there were things we couldn't do, so supplementing that. And I appreciate that. It's set a foundation for me to understand that not everybody's the same. People do things very different for whatever reason, and there's always a way around it. You know, instead of looking at people and saying, wow, that's odd or that's strange, you kind of got to take a little look and look into that a little deeper and see how you can connect.
I'm just curious, without being judgmental, but what would a Christmas day be like for your family?
Just any other day.
Just any other day, but you could see that you were different, though.
Correct. And we actually, being raised, and even though I'm not part of it, I still have much respect for the organization. When I left the organization, I didn't leave it as an apostate or against it. I left it because at that time in my life, I thought it'd be better to leave out of respect than to carry that name and not live my life in accordance to the way that they structured it. So growing up, it was just like any other day. Now, my parents came in, I'm the 9th kid. They came into the religion when the year before I was born, I believe. So the older ones probably had a different view of having it and not. But for those of us, the younger ones that were born into it, it was who our community was. So we weren't really around others in the community. That we knew them, but we were with everyone that was doing the same thing. So I have found when I look back now, I'm 53 years old, and I look back now and I think, wow, there's a lot of positive. So I don't speak poorly of it at all. I have family member that's involved. I am sad that we don't have a relationship. However, I respect and understand that that's what they feel that they need to do.
I'm just curious what the position of the religion is. I have an uncle who married into a Jehovah's Witnesses family. And I know my mom's always commented that he's separate from the family. He doesn't really participate in things. What is the family relationship issue with the Jehovah's Witness?
When we were all in, we were all very close. My dad was the glue for the family. But if you are part of it and you do leave, the mindset is that they want to welcome you back, obviously, because they want you in it. And when you're involved in the organization, you are encouraged to spend time with others who are living the same way that you are, which makes sense. You stay on a certain trajectory and you're around others that are living that way. And so that's the idea of it. When I first left, which was in 95, it was very difficult because I had 11 brothers and sisters and a whole community, and I walked away from everything. So that was a really hard time. That was a turning point for me because I knew people outside of it, but I didn't know them. So things got really hard. I went through a divorce. I ended up leaving. And at that point, I almost ended up homeless because the support wasn't there. It was there if I came back. There was a very hard time for me. There were times I went without food, electricity, but it made me who I am today because I wasn't this person. I realized that I took that and thought, there's other people out there. Not necessarily for me, it was religion, but there's other things in people's lives that they don't realize how strong they are until they go through something. And sometimes they stay stuck and the record keeps playing that this is a victim, or this is where I am, or this is my story, instead of saying, what can I take from this? And that's really what I wanted to do, and really focus after years of therapy and saying, what can I take positive? Because there are some very positive things. And what can I do even more to help others in business and outside of business to find their strength and to realize that sometimes things happen, but it sets you up to be a person that can help and do things in the world.
Well, to walk away from family and an entire support group and start over, I almost know what that's like. Yeah. And so what I imagine is that the difficulties of leaving is actually less than the pain of staying. And that's a really tough decision to make. I'm curious, as a father of 2 now and who wants more children, and they're always saying like that I don't spend enough time with them. Did you feel that there was enough time, a parent like your parents being parents of 12? Was there enough love to go around? And I'm only asking because like, I'm like, wow, I could spend my whole day with one and they're still not enough, right? But how was that? Like, did you get to spend a lot of time with them?
Yes, that was wonderful. My mom was a stay-at-home mom.
Oh.
My dad worked and my mom stayed at home. And as she had more children, she kept having kids as her kids were getting married. So some of the older kids helped. So like my oldest brother got married when I was 4. And so
Wow.
a couple years later, when they would start having their families, there were quite a few times when my mom was pregnant with her daughters or daughter-in-laws. And so my nieces and nephews, I have some that are very close in age. We were a very close family. Everyone always came over. I don't even remember growing up. I don't think we had a house key. The door was always open. And yes, there was a lot of love. There was a lot of love. There was a lot of, our house was the place where it was the safe haven. That's the best way I could explain it. Everyone came over. The doors were always open. The weekend, people would come over and eat. It was, I look back now and I can remember my mom cooking, and people would come over around dinner time, like might be a young couple or something. And my mom would say to us like, okay, tonight, she'd pull a couple of us, you're going to have a sandwich because we're going to feed them. And I remember being like, yeah, I don't have to eat like whatever she made. But looking back, I believe that maybe some of those people didn't know how to say they were hungry or they needed something. And my parents had the wherewithal, they had the knowledge to say, hey, this is someone that's showing up around this time. They said, yes, they want to stay and eat. They need us. And so very loving, a lot of time. Growing up, there's so many people now that I've reconnected on Facebook with that I grew up with and for years didn't see them. And they call my mom and dad. And so yes, it was a strength. It was a great foundation.
Yeah, I think it shows in you today.
Thank you.
I mean, that love, sort of emanates from you.
Thank you.
Which is really quite impressive. What was the age difference of the children?
Oh, wow. Let's see. So my mom had her last baby at 48. She had her first baby at 16 and her last at 48.
So 32 years.
So
Wow.
32 years.
Wow.
32 years of, yes. And my mom looked great. I mean, so we got the good genes from mom, because people always say, you don't look 53. And I'm like, I got the genes from mom.
Yeah.
I don't think I've known people from Doherty. We had a guest last week who's from Doherty.
Oh.
And so now we have a second.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, this is the second.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not real familiar with Doherty, but was the place you grew up, was it sort of like country land at that time, or?
No, we had a big yard,
Yeah.
and my parents just transformed it. We had fruit trees, and they made an area for a garden and the chicken coops, and we had the area that we kept the pigs. I remember they would say, the pigs are not your friend, but you can feed them. But we'd get home from school and we're going to feed the pigs. But of course they wanted us to fatten the pigs up. And then next thing you know, we came home one day and we're like, where are they? But our freezer outside was full. So my dad was he would go hunting. He would take us fishing. I don't do any of that stuff now, but I was raised where they'd line us up and they'd have this group's scaling the fish and this group gutting the fish and mom was cooking everything homemade and go out in the garden and get, vegetables. So at that age, I remember thinking, it's like, we want to go to McDonald's. And my mom would say, okay, hold on. And she'd make us hamburgers and get the lettuce and the tomatoes from the yard. And we thought, ew. But when I look back, wow, what a great foundation that was. Yeah. We actually ate well. We learned things. When I first started working in dentistry, which going forward a little, when I left the organization and I had to kind of figure out what I was going to do, because it was the first time I actually had my own room, because I grew up, with siblings, and then I went through divorce, and then it was the first time I had that. It was my standing on my own 2 feet. I started thinking, what can I do? And honestly, the cheapest thing I found at school at Citrus College was the dental program. So I said, oh, it's 8 months, 9 months, and I can work, because I wasn't working before that. I found myself, when I left, a 26-year-old Black woman with a 12th grade education, and what was I going to do to support myself, now away from my family and divorced? What was I going to do? So I had to pull myself up from the bootstraps, and I said, dental assisting. And then from there, I started working for an office in Arcadia. Well, the doctor there told me something that really resonated with me, because it reminded me of something my dad would say. My dad was known for saying little catchphrases. And so the doctor said, dentistry is training for life. And at that time, I thought, what in the world does that mean? And he said, you'll get it. And everyone that works there knows that he would say that. Years later, I look and I think it was because you had the relationships that you had to learn to get along with in the office. It's not just the clinical part. You had learning to talk to people and explain things. And when you're working on, and that I was working in pediatric, you're working on the kids and making them feel comfortable, and the systems that are put into place when phone calls, and the systems that are put into place with how the day goes, and how the instruments, how the rooms are set up. Those things resonated with me because I worked for an office that had it dialed in, and my parents had it dialed in. So it felt very familiar. With that, years later, my goal when I go in and I train in office is to help them understand, especially the people at the front, I'm you. Like I went through something, but I'm not just trying to be the hero of my own story. I am you. I was at a point, a lot of times when you go into a dental office, it's all about the doctor, not the team. And that needs to change. And people think, oh, I'm just, I hate to hear that. I'm just a front office. I'm just an assistant. My goal is to take the things I learned from my parents, the things that I learned from going through that life-changing event, the things I learned from the office, especially the first office I worked for, put that together and empower the team to understand that you are very important and you have more power than you realize. And dentistry, you're learning things just being part of this team that you can use in your life. And so kind of taking all those different parts and putting it together, I feel like means something now.
So do you go into offices and consult and train or teach?
Yes.
Or educate?
Yes, I do. I go. So the second office I worked for, both offices were really about training, but the second office I worked for, which was Temple City Dental Care, Dr. Von Bulow, he retired last year. He was very much about training. And he actually, he would enroll us in every training there was. I mean, it was so much, but I would soak that up. And I started saying, I can do this. This is actually my passion. This is my gift. Working with people, training them. So from there, I go into offices and I train them, but my style is a little different than some other consultants. I pride myself on knowing that I've been in the trenches with them. I pride myself on knowing that I believe that we need change in our industry. People joke and say, I'd rather go to the dentist than do that. We hear that all the time. People joke about that.
Or it's like having your tooth pulled when you talk about something painful.
Right. People joke about that. They say that. They say, oh God, I hate the dentist. You might hear someone say, I don't want to go to the doctor, but they say, I hate the dentist. Those are all things that some people joke about. But when you really look at the words and really look at what's behind that, dentistry's kind of gotten a bad rap. Part of it is because the mouth is a very intimate thing. So when you're in the office, you kind of forget that people are protective of their mouth. So I believe that in our industry, we've gotten clinical, or it's been clinical, too clinical. And my goal is to try to help offices understand that you have to create the right atmosphere, customer service, culture, and you will have people that will keep coming back. Target has it dialed in. Who can go into Target and buy one thing? You go in and you buy everything. Nordstrom's has it dialed in. You'll pay more because of the experience. I want offices and I want to help them create such an experience that it raises their bottom line on culture, on connecting.
You know, and I really understand that because I have 2 dental offices that I go to on a regular basis now in Pasadena and Arcadia. And I'll mention their names because I am so impressed with them. My general dentist is Okamoto, and Dr. Bigley recently joined the partnership. So when I started going there, I had an experience I had never had before at a dental office, which is just the most modern technology. Everybody cared. Everybody was very kind, nice. Then I was referred over to a periodontist, Dr. Fuentes in Arcadia. Again, just a wonderful office full of people who seemed to really care. Bright lights, not a dumpy little office type of thing, but very modern, high technology. Is this the modern world of dentistry, or are they outliers still?
It's changing. This is the new way. We're starting to understand in the dental community that it's not just about coming in and fixing a tooth. Mm-hmm. It's about relationships. Mm-hmm. And everything in life is relationships, really. But we're starting to get it. Changes are being made in the industry. People are starting to understand that it does make a difference. I train front offices, and I point this out because this is something I say when I talk to them. You are not just the person answering the phone. You are not just the person greeting the patient. You're the front line. You're the front line. You're at that point on the phone when they call. At that point when they walk in, you're the representation of the office. Offices are starting to understand that, and they didn't understand that before. So they're training their teams so that when you come in, you feel that warmth. And that happens from the front desk, and that happens from the phone call. There's a dental office on every corner. So if you're not feeling that, consumers are now, it's not like the old days. Well, I just stay with them, and he's not very nice, and he does a good job. No, I'll go somewhere else. So offices are getting that dialed in, and they're training their teams more so that there's that warmth, that feeling, so that you're like, hey, people buy on emotion. Mm-hmm. So you come in and you feel wonderful. You feel wonderful from the phone call. Then you feel wonderful from them greeting you. Then you go back and the doctor does the great, he diagnoses everything. Then he tells you you need the work. Then the person says, I've already looked up your insurance. They give you the correct presentation. You're like, hey, it's Target. Yeah. Okay, I'll not only do one, I'm going to do all of them.
Yeah.
Right?
And you're right, a dental office more than any other place needs to adopt these new ways of working.
Yes.
Yeah.
Denise, we ask each guest to bring an item of significance with them. What did you bring with you today?
Okay, let me show you all what I brought. I brought a plate. And the reason I brought this plate is because when I was going through my life change, and I decided I wanted to figure out who I was in life and what I wanted to do, there was a very tough time. And there were times when I didn't have money and I didn't have food. There was times when I at that point, I couldn't even pay my rent. So I talked to my landlord at that time. This was back in 1995. And I said, I've gone through divorce. I'm not working yet. I've left my whole community. If you throw me out, I'll be on the street. Please keep track of what I owe you, and I will pay you back one day, but please let me stay here. I will give you what I can, and as soon as I start working. So she said, okay, and I did. And she would bring me food sometimes. And she'd have me to her house and eat. And these were the plates that she would serve me on. And I remember whenever she'd either come to my house and bring me a plate of food, or I would go to her house and she'd serve me, and I'd see this plate, it represented more to me because I was like, oh yes, I'm going to eat and it's a meal, but it lightened my spirit. So I told her that once. So then she showed up at the house one day and gave me a whole set of these. That was in 1995. I keep this plate because it means so much more to me. What this plate represents to me is that sometimes you have an empty plate and sometimes you need help or you need someone to put food on your plate. Other times you have a full plate. You need to get rid of some of it. Other times you have an overflowing plate and you're going to share with somebody. Sometimes you have half a plate and that makes space for something else. This is a reminder since 1995. I still keep these plates. I don't eat off of them. I still have them because it just reminds me that everybody's plate is different. And just because sometimes it's empty doesn't mean that it's always going to be that way. Likewise, when your plate is full, doesn't mean it's always going to be that way. So it's about, this plate represents compassion. It reminds me to be compassionate. It reminds me as I move forward and I help others to not judge them. You never know what someone's going through. You never know where they've come from. You never know what their culture or background makes them make the decisions they make or why they're in a situation. It also represents that my plate's not empty anymore. I have a lot of love and support and thriving. So it means so much to me. Yeah. And I keep it for that.
So beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. I made this statement last time that Vin had won the award for the best or most meaningful item, and you were like right up there, and both of you from Doherty.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, that's a beautiful metaphor, really, isn't it?
Yes. Thank you for bringing that.
Absolutely.
So I want to get into more of your company, and I'm personally interested on when you go there, how quickly do you assess that it's the dentist? I'm just joking. I'm sort of joking, but I want to understand your process, and how you point out what the issues are and how you get them, or whatever your process is. But let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Okay.
At Wormuth Law, they believe that just because you speak a foreign language, come from a different culture, or simply don't know how to navigate the legal system, that should not prevent you from compensation from injury or receiving benefits. Their multicultural staff have been helping SGVers like you for over 38 years. Visit law888.com or call them at 626-784-7017 and tell them you heard about them on this podcast.
All right, we're back with Denise. Denise, before the break, you were sharing about your plate and that wonderful metaphor with us and the audience. Thank you for that. I want to learn more about your company and, what is your process when you go in there? How do you get introduced, to a new customer or client? Do they just say, hey, we're having problems or we want to grow? How does that whole process start or look?
A lot of the process starts from speaking. So I do quite a bit of speaking. I've been doing some speaking for the American Dental Association as well as other companies. This year I'll be speaking at an implant convention or an oral surgery convention. So it starts with speaking, a lot of it, talking to the audience about subjects. And then from there, I've had doctors and or team members contact me and say, hey, we'd like a consult and see what you're all about. Or word of mouth, or what I've been doing recently is going to offices and visiting. So let me start by saying I've been in offices working. And last year, I actually finally quit my job and said, I'm doing the speaking and consulting full time. No. So for about 3 years, I was doing part-time in an office, speaking and consulting. I'd started working with quite a few chiropractors and then dental offices as well. And I had a couple of people in my life that I really respect say to me, why are you still in an office? What are you doing? You're only dipping one toe in. If you really want the universe to open this up, you really feel that you have something that people need, you've got to just take that jump. Why are you still in an office part-time? And to be honest, my answer was fear, because I knew that was a steady paycheck. This was I would take time to build my, business, and I got comfortable with that. But then I realized it was holding me back. So last June, I said, I'm making the cut. I just went in after a conversation on Saturday And I quit that Monday. And I said, which worked because the doctor was retiring, so the timing was right. And so from there, in the dental industry, I know a lot of people, and they knew me as a team member. So breaking into the consulting in the San Gabriel Valley has been a little tough. I have offices that I visit regularly. I made the decision to let all the chiropractors go that I was working with. I was consulting about 4 or 5 chiropractors, and that was very lucrative, but I wanted to focus on dental because that's where my strength is, and that's what I'm doing. So word of mouth. And if anyone's watching and you need help, I'm the girl. And so I'll go into an office and I observe it first. It's very important to me that I will always give what I am the expert at. So I'm not going to ever go into an office, even though I worked clinical, and say to them, let me go back and tell your registered dental assistants or DAs how to pass instruments. Even though I know how to do that, my expertise is front office. My expertise is putting the systems in place. So I look at the systems. If there's a system that needs to be changed, let's talk about it. If there's not a system, let's put a system in place. How are you answering the phones? How are you greeting the patients? How are you presenting treatment? I think you said your doctor carried your in-house payments. That's something that's very common that I will train them, because if it means that you're setting up a correct payment plan and someone's going to get that work done, let's do it. Because what people don't realize is that dental work, it affects your whole body. It affects your health. Yeah. So you have a lot of offices, I can't afford it. Okay, thanks, bye. That's not what we need to be doing. How can we get this done? What are your objectives? I have this thing that I say that I compare it to women and their nails. I don't care what class you're in, rich or poor. A lot of women get their nails and hair done. They're going to get that. They're going to have that. They're going to dye their hair if the gray's showing. They're going to have their nails done because it's important to them and it makes them feel good. So training and teaching the patient that what you have to offer is for their full body health. It's more than just, you're going to have your teeth cleaned. This is really going to extend your life. And how can we get this done? And to some, they go, that's dramatic. No, not really when you really think about it, because you're helping save lives. And so I go in, observe, and then we have conversations. And I feel that when you're working with a team, the way to go in is not to go in and talk at them, but I love to be able to tell them, I've been there, I've sat there, I know exactly the struggles. And let's figure out a way that's going to work for your office. Between the doctor, the team, I feel like my job is to be the liaison, and let's figure it out. And let's not just have a script that everybody uses. We'll have a very loose script, like the bones, and you fill it in like the meat on bones. Let's do what works for your office. And that's where I feel that I'm different than other consultants, is that I am going in and I want to tailor it to what works for them and their office culture, and really get in there, not to judge, but to say, let's fix some things. Sometimes you have a blind spot when you're in the middle of it. Let an outside set of eyes see what you're doing. What are your goals? What is your mission? And let me help you get there. And the offices that I have worked with have a significant growth. When I was in the last office, I asked the doctor to let me run the office as a test lab. So like the last 3 years I was there, we monitored everything. And I was able, a lot of the things that I wanted to use for next level to success, he used in the office. So we got a really good idea, and I got an idea of what worked and what didn't work. So even though some might say, well, I don't know, what is she doing? It's not as new as it may seem, because I used it for years with the doctor. And that's the thing, is getting in there and really helping an office. Like, let the ego go. Let's just all get in here and be the best that we can be.
You went to Citrus College, you mentioned, and studied dental hygiene or dental assisting. Mm-hmm. How did you develop this, additional knowledge that you have?
I believe it was because both offices that I worked for invested in their team. They trained us. And that's what I really like to say when I talk to doctors, that you're investing in your team. It's an investment. It's not just, I'm going to send all these people to this training and they're good. No, those doctors invested in me and woke something up. I have a passion for customer service, and I think there's a lack of it in the world. And I thought, it woke something up in me that said, let me go out and help others find this. So I believe that there are hidden gems in offices, and doctors don't realize that some of their team members are probably not even showing them their strengths that they have. I want to go help them uncover your hidden gems.
Yeah. That's a really familiar, feeling of wanting people to shine and lead with their strengths and not focus so much on their weaknesses, but say, like, what are you great at, right? I'm curious, have you ever encountered an office where, it was really run like a authoritarian type deal, and what did you do in that situation?
Absolutely. And then really that's the reality, is it's not all peaches and cream. A lot of offices that I've come across have had issues like that. Sitting down and coming to a consensus, asking the doctor how, this is something that I've newly adopted, because back in the day I would just take any office and I don't anymore. And I learned something being part of a group. There's a networking group that I'm part of, and we just did a thing in Unplugged. It's called Speaking Consulting Network, and we did a Napa Unplugged. And someone said something that just really resonated. Ask the doctor, what's your willingness to change on a scale of 1 to 10? And then you need to decide what number you want to work with that office. And that's something I wish I had done in the beginning, but then maybe not, because I kind of learned from those difficult offices. Now I want to know, what is your willingness to change? And if so, you understand that your team is going to change on some things, but you have to too. So I believe going into a difficult situation, as there will always be difficult situations, because that's just real and the reality. And I want to be clear that I want to be authentic on that. It's not all great. However, realizing if there's an office that really has this willingness to change, we can work around it and we can figure it out. And it's going to look different to each person or each office.
What are the signs that you pick up on to know that the office is moving in the right direction, or maybe even that they're, going to remain where they are?
A couple of things. The vibe or the culture. When you have a happy team, they're going to do a lot more for you. So when the team's happy and the team's not watching the clock saying, oh, when is lunch coming? It's more like, oh, lunch is coming. Okay, that's the first sign that the team culture is getting better, that the relationships, that the communications. And the second one is the bottom line going up, meaning the money. Because when the team is happy, you have a happy team, they're going to do more for the office. They're going to take pride in it as if it's their office. That's going to increase the doctor's bottom line. That's going to increase production. They're going to fill the schedule more. That's going to increase collection. They're going to have those financials locked in, and people will get their treatment done. They will feel safe and they will do it. So that's going to affect the bottom line. So working with an office, let's put these things in play. You're going to see your bottom line going up, your money right there. That's proof. There's proof there. Happy team and bottom line going up.
So how many people are you rejecting now? A lot? Half?
No.
Few?
No, I have had to turn a couple of offices down, just a couple. Most people, if they are looking at a coach and a consultant, they want to change. There's very few that are saying, I don't want to change, or it's all in the team. It's just, this goes with business anywhere. Not everybody's a fit. There's going to be some with any business that love you and don't. There's going to be some that say, I'm a fit and I really think we can work well, or that's just not my philosophy. And that's okay, because you don't want to work with everybody. So I would say 95% want to change, but you're always going to have that percentage, if we're keeping it real, and I want to keep it real, that just don't feel that they need to change. That type of office is not a fit for what I want to do, or what I feel that I can bring to the table and help them.
How long do you spend with them? How many days a week are you with them? Or, how long is that process? And I'm sure it varies, right?
It varies. So my program has, I have 5 workshops, and those workshops are a day workshop each. And those workshops are designed to, we'll do a workshop, and there's homework and there's things that they need to do. And then they implement those things. So after a workshop, usually a month or two goes by before we do workshop number 2. Because if you go in and you just, in the beginning, I just would go in and do everything. And unrealistically, you're setting them up to fail because you can't implement that fast. So I spread my workshops out. However, in between that, I have calls with the doctor. I check in with the team. I also have another package where I can do one-on-one. So there's been times when I've done the workshop and then the doctor will say, I think I really want you to come in and do one-on-one. And those are based on a certain amount of hours. So I work with that. If it's out of state, we do it via Zoom or they can fly me in. So there's many different options to get this done. But the important thing is to know that the problem didn't get there overnight, so it won't be solved overnight. And I believe that that's important when you're dealing with offices, to be honest about that. So you see, back in the day, I used to say, I am sure everything's going to change right away. Now I don't say that. What I say now is, I am sure that I will train your team and give you the tools to make this happen. What you do with it after that is up to you. And I'm very confident now saying that before I wasn't, because that's the real.
Yeah, sure. What's the phrase? It's something about a horse and water or something. I don't really understand that phrase because I'm not around horses, but I've heard it and I get
Exactly.
it. So, well, Denise, we're going to move on to the final segment of the show where we learn a little bit more about you in a personal way.
Denise, can you tell us 3 of your favorite places or activities here in the San Gabriel Valley? This is what we call the SGV 3.
Yes, I will. My first is the Huntington Gardens, Huntington Library. That place is special to me because when I first started getting everything together for Next Level to Success, I would go there. I've been a member for many years. I would go there, take a blanket, and I would sit in the beautiful gardens and I would work there. I would sit and write and started coming up with the foundation. So I love the gardens there, but it even means more because it was the start.
Oh, yeah. There's some history, huh?
Definitely. So,
or memories, yeah.
So, and it's a special place.
Yes, that's a very popular place.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Beautiful place.
That is. My second place would be Pie and Burger.
Oh, wow. We were just talking about it last week.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's a great place as well.
The reason I love Pie and Burger is because it's an original. It's the only one. It's very, it's San Gabriel Valley.
Yeah.
You know, it's
right at the base of Lake and California in Pasadena. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they have really good food and they kept it simple. It's burgers, sandwiches, as you know, breakfast, and pie. Yeah. And what I respect about them is they know what they're good at. They know what they do well and they stick to it. They don't get fancy. Yeah. They don't try they do what they do and it's good. It's worth it.
Oh, that's a great choice. Yeah.
Right? I love Pie and Burger.
Yeah. When was the last time you were there?
Probably a couple months ago. It's time, I think.
I don't think I've been there for about a year. But.
And what's your favorite pie from there?
Oh my goodness. I think it's the peach. It's yummy. I usually get the cheeseburger with grilled onions, the fries, I get a chocolate shake, and then peach. Same thing. I go the next time, I'm going to try something different. I don't.
And can you go there and just have a burger and not pie? I don't know.
No.
I think that's like sacrilegious. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very close to Caltech. And so for the listeners who maybe don't know where Pie and Burger is and what it looks like, it's really small. There's a counter. It's like maybe 50 style counter. Maybe they can fit 20 people in there. And often there's a line out the door, right? So yeah.
And it's cash only. They're old school.
Oh, is it?
I'm like, how can they do it? But they do it because, everyone does credit. But yeah, it's a great place.
Yeah, that is a good, nice choice.
Yeah, that's
thank
a good
you
one.
for bringing that.
I was like, San Gabriel Valley Pie and Burger. Hello.
Right.
And then my other is so for a while I was a captain of a walking group. and we would walk all over the place, and we walk on Sundays. And so I stepped away from that, but I still have a real love of hiking and walking. I haven't hiked as much as I used to, because I used to do it every week. But sometimes, just to clear my mind, I really love the Arroyo Seco walk, and I love the lower one by the casting pond. It's about a 3-mile loop. It's beautiful, and it's just peaceful. You'll see
that's horses. Right along Arroyo. The street Arroyo. Yeah, and it leads to the bridge.
Right. Yes. But if you go, there's lots of different paths. But the one, if you go park down, you drive down into where the casting pond is and park there, and there's just a very peaceful loop. Sometimes you'll see horses, people on their horses there, and I kind of like to do that to get my head clear. It's not a strenuous hike, but it's one of those where I feel comfortable. If I need to go by myself, I feel comfortable there. But it's just, you can breathe and kind of clear your head.
Yeah, that whole area is so nice. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to identify exactly where it is that you drive down to the casting.
So it's a neighborhood. So if you go Fair Oaks, and then I forget the street you cross over. So if you were,
could be California. Or
maybe not. California, I think, is a little more, it's kind of near the Tournament of Roses Parade house.
Right.
So it's one of those streets, and I can't think of the exact street, but you could even park at the Tournament of Roses house, and you'd have to walk maybe 4 blocks.
You walk down.
You walk down, and then you walk down into...
that's where the archery, not archery.
Yes,
yeah, archery.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
But there's
there.
parking down there. Yes.
Oh, that's right. I have seen cars go down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's off Arroyo. The street is called Arroyo, and you can go right down.
You go down there. Yeah.
Okay.
So you park. So usually I'll drive down and park, and if you start at the casting pond and walk around, when you get towards the other side, you'll pass right where they're doing the archery. So exactly.
Okay.
But it's just very peaceful and just.
Yeah, right.
A good place to kind of clear your head. And if you keep going, you'll get all the way to the bridge and then come back around.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can take kids. You have kids. You can take your kids there.
Yeah. Well, Denise, thank you so much for coming on our show and sharing your story with us. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
My website is nextleveltosuccess.net, or you can find me. I have Instagram, Next Level to Success. And I'm all over social media. Give me a call. Email me. Reach out.
Meet you at Pie and Burger.
Meet me at Pie and Burger. We can go on a walk on the Royal or sit at the Huntington.
Yeah, right.
All of it.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much again for being on our show, Denise. We really appreciate it, and sharing all that story with us and our listeners.
Thank you for having me. Been a pleasure.
Well, there you go. That was a really interesting to learn about, being able to take what you've learned in your younger life and journey and apply it to something that becomes later your passion. And that's, I think so many times we hear stories of people doing that, and it hasn't been presented so clearly or as well today. But, if you're going through something today, maybe that will later on become, your strength later on, that you're getting reps in for something that you don't really realize. So anyway, thank you for spending this time with us. We appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe if you like this kind of content, like and share it. And you can find our full catalog of episodes on our website, sgvmasterkey.com. And until next week, we'll see you then.
You've been listening to the SGV Master Key Podcast. Our passion is the small businesses and the people that make up the San Gabriel Valley, and it's our honor to have them on the show. We hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure to like, rate, and review. The show is produced by Russell Mano, edited by Victoria Allers of Kind Monster Productions. Thanks for listening, and see you next time on the SGV Master Key Podcast.
Mother, no, kind of mother.